So to get started here, let's talk a little bit about, not about me, let's talk about first about Quorum. We can talk about me later. So Quorum itself is a public affairs software that helps you work smarter and move faster. It's an all-in-one solution in the advocacy space that really combines our stakeholder engagement with grassroots advocacy, along with legislative tracking and PAC management, all within one cloud system to seamlessly power your entire public affairs team along every sort of piece of what you may be doing. A little bit about myself. I'm Daniel Afferty. I have been with Quorum for the last 2.5 years. I actually came over via the acquisition of Phone to Action. I was the product manager over there for P2A, for the grassroots portion. And now I kind of oversee both grassroots products here at Quorum. Really excited to be talking to you today and talk about how we're sort of harnessing the power of P2A and combining it with the strength of the back end of Quorum, and how this launch of the next generation of Quorum Grassroots really kind of envisions or it takes that promise and delivers on it. So really excited to go through that with you today. So today will be, I'm not going to PowerPoint you to death. The goal will be kind of moving a little bit back and forth between PowerPoint as well as in the product. I want to spend as much time in the product as I can. This way you can see it, get an experience and a feel for it, highlight the changes that we've made, and then it'll give you sort of a good sense of what this next generation can do for your organization. So first, kind of setting the framework here, setting the stage for why we did kind of what we did. One of my favorite books of all time is a book called Don't Make Me Think. As a product person who kind of works with the product to design what the experience is going to be for both your advocates and for you as administrators or government affairs specialists, this quote always comes to mind when I think about what we're going to do and why we're going to do it, right? So your objective should always be to eliminate instructions entirely by making everything self-explanatory, as close to it as possible. When instructions are absolutely necessary, cut them back to a bare minimum. So the goal being here that everything that we're building and delivering is designed to be easy to use and not make you think about anything that you have to do here as you're working through it. So that was sort of some of the objectives here. One of the main goals that we were looking to achieve is to reduce the time that it takes to launch a campaign, as well as increase the number of actions by your advocates by giving them a new modern experience. I'll talk about that here in just a second. So the next generation of Quorum Grassroots, really there's three key pieces that are included in this release that just happened at the end of January. The first piece is we've created an impactful campaign builder that allows you to build campaigns in under 5 minutes. Second, we're allowing you to increase your influence with lawmakers by using AI message variation and enhanced targeting within the system. And more on that, we'll demonstrate that and show you what it looks like in just a few minutes. And then lastly, we're going to inspire more people to take action with a better advocate experience. So we've done a lot for the admin side, but then to make sure that we are converting and your advocates have a great experience, we've done a lot in updating what the campaign experience is going to be like for them. So first thing I'll do is I'm not actually going to PowerPoint you to death here. We're going to start with the advocate experience. The most important thing in this whole process, right, is how you work with your advocates. What's the experience that your advocates have when they engage with you in the advocacy efforts, right? It's a big ask to have them email a legislator or call a legislator. We want to give you the tools to make that so much easier and a much more valuable experience for both you and them as well. So I'm actually going to jump into product here and take you through a sample action center. So this is a demo action center here that we've built, and you can think of the action center sort of as the centralized hub of all of your grassroots efforts. So this is where advocates are going to come. They're going to come back to it. They're going to engage with you here. They're going to complete campaigns. This is everything that your advocates are going to want to do, are going to want to come back here. So we've focused a lot of this around you telling your story, engaging with customers, with your advocates, making it really easy to tell that story and engage in that action here. A key piece of this I do want to highlight, and then we'll jump in the back end and kind of show how all of this ties together, is this concept of issues. So really important for every organization is what is important to you? What does your organization care about and why? So we've got this sort of the centralized, the central of the universe for Quorum are these things called issues. And what issues allow you to do is sort of center your efforts around specific things. In our demo environment here called Americans for Modernizing Politics, our focuses, our main issues are around autonomous vehicles, data privacy, and renewable energy. And all of these things can be tracked in the back end. And then after you're tracking them and seeing all of your grassroots actions, marking, marking representatives as co-sponsors or key party members, people that align with what you believe in, giving them scorecards and things like that, will really allow you to kind of surface all of that information and engage in that conversation with your advocates. So you're able to really harness not just the ability to track things in Quorum, which is great, but you're able to take that and present it easily to your advocates. So when we think about sort of what is that in the back end, what does the next generation of grassroots mean? Well, we wanted to really, again, simplify the process, right? We, as a grassroots professional, we wanted to make sure that your job is front and center for you as you log into Quorum. One of the things that I learned as I came over as part of the acquisition was, Quorum was super powerful. There's so much that you could do on the back end of the software, but as a grassroots focused individual, I got a little lost in what I was supposed to do and when I was supposed to do it. So the first thing that we did in this rollout of the next generation was really split out that functionality. So the first thing to highlight here is when you log in, you will have the ability to select kind of what is your primary role in your organization. And with that role selection, we'll update your navigation as well as your home dashboards and things like that. So that's sort of the first enhancement that came out in the middle of last year to really focus around that user experience for you. So when I do something like I look at my issues, I'll be able to easily navigate those things from my tracking boards to my reporting. All of that is going to be here so that I can access those things front and center and track them as I need to. On the issues standpoint, it sort of ties everything together, right? So we've got this issues area where I can look at lists of things. This can be lists of advocates, lists of bills, lists of staffers. So it ties everything that your organization is doing from both the tracking side as well as the stakeholder engagement, the direct engagement, some of the lobbying you may be doing, the bill tracking, as well as that contact management into one simple to use area. So I'm tracking all of these things, and then I can then ground all of that together. So for example, if I want to know what are we doing around this 2024 legislation, it could be something specifically around, in this case, something maybe energy or solar based. I'm tracking these bills, and then I can look at, well, what are the grassroots campaigns that tie into this? So did a bill that we were tracking pass or fail? I can connect all that together really simply and easily with my campaigns and tell the story about how what we did on the advocate front really helped change or affect that issue or that topic. So that's sort of where you get to see everything sort of tied together. The first enhancement that I do want to talk about as well here is really focused around what you can do as a grassroots expert. So the most important part of your business, of course, is your relationship with your advocates, right? So understanding who your advocates are, where they came from, who are your super supporters, who are your advocates that are moving through your ladder of engagement, who are your key players, your super advocates, the ones that you may want to move from grassroots to grass tops. And with this release, we kind of provided that information for you at your fingertips. So I'm going to go ahead and collapse the sidebar because I want to see as much data as I can presented on the screen. So here's a list of my advocates. One of the things that we did around these filters was we added in some things that don't require you to think at all. For example, we created this field here called is active. This is active filter is an algorithm that runs that says, is this contact somebody that has opened an email or participated, gone into your action center within the last 365 days? If the answer to that is yes, then we're going to mark them as is active for you. So you don't have to think about, you don't have to build that equation. You don't have to put the right filters together and then click them in every time you need to do that. Although you could do that if you wanted to. Here, we wanted to make it so you don't have to think about those things and then automatically populate that data for you. So I could do something simple like, okay, well, I want to know who all my active advocates are. I then want to see, well, who are my, who are the users that have taken the most action. So in this case, I know Julianne here has really been active, has completed 438 actions for our organization. So I know that she is somebody that I'm definitely going to want to engage with, mark her as a key supporter, and then possibly engage her and manage that contact record with some custom fields and things like that to make sure that we know that we are identifying her as a key player here. Another improvement that we've done with this is after you've sort of filtered down and looked at everybody that you want to look at, you can then just very simply with a click of a button, email this group of individuals. You can send an A/B test, which is native to the platform as well, or send a text message directly to this group right here with just one click. So I do one click, it'll generate the audience. So these are my top advocates. And I click OK, and boom, it'll start to generate the email for me. The other thing I could do with this, of course, is to create this as an ever-updating list. So on heading back into this sort of list functionality tied with the issues, all of these lists can be magic lists that automatically update. So if I take a group of my contacts and I want to make it so that we auto-update that, I could go ahead and filter down that list and create filter down that search, click here and create save list. And that will be an automatically updating list. So if I need to email a group on the regular, I can just use that functionality. You never have to worry about running all of my filters again. So really simple, easy, quick execution. So that's sort of what was released prior to this January release of the sort of next generation of campaigns coming up to this. So what I do want to think about, I do want you to think about really quickly here before we dive into some of that campaign builder stuff, is I want you to think about knowing the power of some of the filters here and what you can see and the level of engagement and filtering that you could do. How do you segment by engagement today? How would you use these new filters? How would you use this to create an audience? What do you need to get out of this software and a really dynamic CRM in order to kind of manage your advocacy program even better? Do you score your advocates? Are you able to kind of filter and organize them in a way and see what actions that they're taking? Those are some of the questions that you should be asking yourself as you walk through this and look at this entire system and think about, well, is the CRM working for me or am I working for it, right? How do I set this up for success and then allow myself to really hone in on that ladder of engagement and grow my advocacy audience from just sort of the basic root stuff all the way through the tops. So jumping into the new campaigns experience, the first thing we're going to talk about here is Dustin from the ALS Association gave us a nice quote as he was sort of beta testing things and working with us. He said the intuitive interface, streamlined workflows, and powerful new features allow us to amplify our impact like never before. And it's things like that as a product person that builds things to make your jobs better and easier, engage more advocates and have more impact. It's things like when I hear things like that, I know that we're kind of on the mark and really hitting those things in stride. So it was really great to hear that from Dustin. So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through this new campaign builder, what we've done, how we built it, and what it all looks like. And then we'll do two things. First, I'll show you the campaign builder. After that, I'm going to walk you through some of the new messaging capabilities, because your ability and how you engage with legislators is the most important thing that your organization will have to do. And then thirdly, we'll show what that advocate experience looks like at the end. So jumping right into this campaign builder, you can see here I'm an organization that has multiple action centers. Quorum, in this case, has the ability to support sort of that affiliate or agency model where you may be working with multiple chapters or affiliations or or multiple organizations, and we can separate all that data out by specific action center. Or this is sort of that national and state affiliate model as well, which we can support that here as well. So you can see all the data rolled up or completely separate, however you want to look at it. In this case, I'm going to dig into my next generation grassroots action center and show you what this campaign builder can do. So looking at my list of campaigns, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually edit a campaign that's already built. because it's a little bit easier rather than just kind of going through the entire build process and showing you sort of what's in there. But the first thing I do want to highlight here is that on the campaign builder, we have 12 different types of campaigns that are available for use today. And that number is going to be increasing throughout the year to give you more avenues of engagement to grow your advocates from roots to tops. In this case, here are the 12 options that you have. Actually, I'm sorry, 15 in this case. So you can do things, everything from write a letter to custom call to action, which is your sort of ability to engage with advocates maybe via petition, a sign up. You want them to watch a specific video or get some specific information. You can customize that any way that you want. And this kind of goes from the most used campaign types to the least used campaign types. So everything that we've done in the system, again, is based upon how our users leverage the tools. So we took all the data that you use the most and present it to you easily and quickly to access. We didn't want you to have to look and think and bury and look to find all the things that you might want to use. So this is just one example of tons of engagement here, as well as some little nuances around how we built and kind of deliver product. The first thing I'll do is I'll show you a custom call to action, and I'll edit this particular campaign here, the Save the Whales campaign, and kind of walk you through this campaign builder. So in this case, we've got 4 steps. This is probably one of the simplest campaign types to build in the system. First thing that you're going to see here is we've got our layout step. The layout step, what we built this for was really to allow you to visualize your campaign as you build it. We want to kind of remove the sort of smoke and mirrors and the guessing around, well, what is this going to look like? How is it going to feel for my advocates as they work with me? And we wanted to kind of streamline this process quite a bit, give you the things that you use the most by default, and allow you to see those changes as you build. The first thing that we did on this layout step was we created 3 different base layouts for you to use. The first one is called the standard campaign layout, which is the most commonly used in Quorum Grassroots. So this is where you're having your campaign live within your action center. You can tell because I've got my logo and my navigation at the top and the footer that exists here on the bottom. And it's just sort of embedded within the action center and kind of tells that unified experience of one kind of centralized hub for my advocates. The second one is a riff on sort of how P2A works today. So phone to action was really based on delivering campaigns quickly and easily, but it didn't give you a home base. And that's sort of what this mimics here. So the standalone campaign is where you have a campaign that is just going to drop a logo on the page. There's not going to be that header, footer, navigation kind of things here, and allow you to kind of customize what this one-off or experience is going to be like. So perhaps you're doing some coalition building. You're working with another organization. You don't want this tied directly to your brand or your organization, and you just kind of want to stand up for this one particular bill or issue or something like that, a campaign that lives outside of your action center. That would be another reason why you would select a standalone campaign. The other common scenario that we wanted to really easily support was, well, you know what? I don't want an action center. What I want to do is I want to build campaigns, and I want to embed them directly into my website. So we created this layout where it's just a white background, no header, no footer, no logo. All it does is it grabs just the content that you want and puts it into a really quickly and easy to embed version of the campaign builder. Going back to the standalone campaign, I do want to show you some of the neat little design features that you can add in here. So some of the things that you can do to customize this experience include, well, do I want to change this from columns to rows? And as you can see, as I make these changes, it updates on the right. So I can actually visualize and see the things that I'm doing and how it'll affect the user experience. Maybe, for example, I want to change the color for this particular page. So I could grab the color picker, and maybe I want a light blue. Hey, that looks great. I like that color. That makes the image pop out. So I'm going to go with something like that. So I can see that really quickly and clearly. Or let's say, you know what? I want to upload a different logo. I could grab a new logo and I could insert that here and override what my default logo is going to be. The other thing I can do, if you look at the standard campaign here, is you can actually insert an image into the background. In this case, I've got this image here. where I'm kind of layering images on top of each other, and I can get a feel for what that experience is going to be like. Insert headers, images, videos, lots of options here around what this campaign is going to look like for you and your organization. So jumping into step 2 here, which is your basic step. On the basic step, what you're doing is really configuring what is it, the basics, the title, the subtitle, the description of your campaign. What is it that you want people to see? And what you're going to see is, as you're building, I'm going to delete this title off. You're going to see that title went back to this purple color. Once I enter that title again, you'll be able to see, oh, wait, I entered it. It's checked off. It's done. I know that it's done. It's been entered. I can see my check marks. So I'm all set and all good with those things that I have to configure here. So we've got lots of options around sort of telling you when you've done something, right, and not making you think about any of this. Then if you want, you could go ahead and kind of change some of these advanced options if you wanted to. So again, these are things that you don't have to do. They're set to defaults based upon how you use the platform today and how we have built the platform for you to use. So you could do things like, you could change it if I wanted to. I could restrict who accesses this. I could change some titles and language if I want to. But none of this is required at all. These are things that just kind of live here that you may want to do or may not want to do. Heading on to step 3. So the post-action step is really about, well, after your advocates have taken this action, what do you want them to see or do? So first thing is you can drop them onto a thank you page. I could design that thank you page. It'll also, for using gamification, which also exists on the basic step here. We have gamification system built in here. So you'll automatically know how many points somebody has and move them up your ladder of engagement. You don't have to show your advocates these points. You could actually internalize that only if you wanted to and keep that sort of as another way to filter down who's engaged. So you can use those points, and then you could show that on the thank you page. So you say, thank you for your support for doing this, and they'll get their points or not get their points, really depending upon what you want to do. On the social sharing side, on this thank you page as well, what they can do is they can share this campaign on either Facebook, X, or LinkedIn. And what we're doing here, I didn't build a campaign from scratch, but what would happen is, as I entered that information on step 2, that title, subtitle, description, and added that campaign image, it'll automatically grab what I entered and drop it into this step. Because usually what you want to say on your campaign is the same thing you want to say on your social media platforms. So why would I make you type that in twice? Why not just grab what you've already entered and then drop that in here to really get to that point where you're saving you time and making this super efficient. So everything you see here has already been copied over from the previous step, and I can update it if I want to, if I wanted to shorten the message or whatever that looks like for social sharing. And then the final step is finalizing this campaign. This is where you're choosing sort of the reporting and tying everything together. Remember, we started talking about that issues, right? So if this is a petition around a particular bill or something that we care about, I can tie that to my specific sets of issues. I can connect this to bills and regulations. We have keyword settings here as well, so that you can have somebody text act now to my phone number, and then they'll get a link to the campaign automatically. All of that is done here on the finalized step. And again, this reporting stuff is really kind of a big differentiator in the market, right? Being able to understand the effect that your actions, your advocates are having on the things that your organization cares about is really where you kind of show your ROI around tying grassroots to your overall public affairs efforts. So I can't highlight this enough and what that experience is like. I'll pause here for a second. Molly, are there any specific questions around maybe this section that I can jump in and answer? I don't know if Molly wanted to talk or not, but I can take a second to answer any of those questions. Okay, they're all in the Q&A. Let's see if we can grab any that had the most thumbs up, and that I will answer those first. So we'll start with this one's got a 4. Can you change the dates for active exchange limit to the last 6 months instead of the year? So you could do that with filters and filtering yourself. You can't change the algorithm that exists there. Although I have heard that a couple of times, that may be something that we look at doing in the future. Great question, okay. We got another question. Will you still offer an embedded version of the Action Center for websites? Yes, absolutely. Not only can you embed the campaigns that you build, but you can embed the Action Center pages as well, as well as your tracking boards, your dashboards, everything. Your sheets can all be embedded publicly on a website if you want to. You talk about recruiting advocates, how we convert our email list into advocates. That is, so you can actually do that really easily with the power of the contacts list here. So I think I lost the tab. But yes, so I wasn't planning on going through that in this particular webinar. I don't want to just click around and get people seasick here. But yes, you can filter down by who's opened an email, but who hasn't taken action, and then kind of build out your marketing segmentation and your kind of rules for engagement from there. Maybe you're going to send them a text. Maybe you have a phone campaign that you're going to follow up with or something like that. So you can download them and add them in as a list onto your social media platforms for maybe trying to catch them on social media. So lots of options there to get that engagement up. Will campaign fields, particularly email address, have built-in validation to help advocates enter a valid and deliverable email address? So I believe those validations should already exist, or they should after something gets submitted. Bob, let me take a look at that and get back to you. I'm not sure the answer to that question off the top of my head. I know a lot of things, but not everything. Bob's got another one too. Will Grassroots offer the same Salesforce integration capabilities as Phone to Action? We're a current P2A user that will be migrating to Grassroots. So yes, so the Quorum Grassroots system is going to support the same Salesforce integration that you have on P2A today. So that's for P2A customers specifically. Very small on the standalone. Colin, I'll take a look at that and get back to you. Okay, got another question from Aaron, and then I'm going to go back into the next step. With the gamification, can you set up messages to be sent to advocates when they pass certain thresholds? The messages will not be automated, but yes, you could create lists of these are people that haven't received email and have reached over these points. And you could set up, you could create an email and maybe email that group weekly. So you can create auto updating lists of those people and then send out the email. Okay, I'm going to pause on questions for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to jump into back into sort of the write a letter stage here, and then hopefully we'll come back and get to answer some more of those questions at the end. Okay, so first thing, since actually this release happened at the end of January, so about a month ago now. Sorry, just needed a sip of water. So since we've been out in the wild with this software for a month now, almost a month, we get to track some of the results and see how things are going with the old campaign builder versus the new campaign builder. And what we're seeing is actually fantastic. So a lot of our testing and hypotheses that we kind of went with this with, we talked to a lot of customers. Hopefully some of you are on this call and talk to us and engage with us around what looked good, what didn't you like, and we use that feedback to sort of iterate on this process. But the results have been great so far. So what we found is that what we've delivered is 25% faster to launch a campaign. What we've seen is that over an increase in completion rate. So you start a campaign and then you finish it within one particular session. A lot of people, it's very frequent where I start a campaign and then I've got to go somewhere else to get copy for it and then drop it in. So it takes me a longer period of time in order to complete a campaign. In this case, we've seen our completion rate increase by 55%, which is crazy. And then also we've increased our number of campaigns created year over year. So comparing the same time period of 2023 to today, we've seen an increase in 44% in the number of campaigns that have been created. And it could be a session thing, but I don't think it's just because Congress is in session right now. I think it's a lot of it is tied to, hopefully tied to some of the ease of use of the tools. So let's jump into sort of those new messaging capabilities. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to head back into my campaigns area here, and I am going to edit an existing campaign. Back. In this case, I'm going to edit this campaign called Protect the Freedom to Vote. So, and I'm going to just jump right ahead into the messaging step. So you can see the other campaign was a 4-step process. This one is going to be a 5-step process because we're adding in sort of that messages configuration on this step. So I'm going to jump into, first I'm going to show you the basics. So each campaign is going to have some additional options around things you may want to configure. In this case, for the Write a Letter campaign, we have not only the ability to take action multiple times, but we're adding in things like whether somebody can see this campaign if they can't participate. We added in one-click registration, whereas previously that was off by default. Now we're putting that on by default. And that allows your users to both enter their contact information and submit the campaign all in one single step. So again, taking some of that, leveraging of some of those tools that exist on P2A and simplifying that process for your advocates and increasing conversion rates in the process. So specifically looking into the new Write a Letter message campaign functionality. So first thing you're going to notice is in previous iterations of Quorum Grassroots, before this release, you were limited to 2 messages that you could create per campaign. So I could say, and it was a little bit challenging, I guess I'll use the word challenging here, to figure out, okay, I'm going to target this group, and then out of that group, I want to send a message to this other smaller group within that first group. So figuring out how to target in those 2 messages was not the most intuitive thing that we found based upon our own experience as well as your input as well. So what we've done is really looked at the message process in kind of in a simplistic way, right? When you're creating a message to whoever your legislators are, whoever you're trying to contact, what are the 2 things that you need to know? You need to know, who do I want to contact and what do I want to say to them? So that's what we've done, is we've taken this section here is who do you want to target? Who is it that we're sending messages to? And this side is, well, what do you want to say to them? So we've taken that process that is usually split out into different parts of the software and combined that into one place. So who do I want to target and what do I want to say? All in one simple interface. Now, when we kind of peel back the onion a little bit here and we talk about kind of who do you want to target, that becomes really interesting in Quorum, especially for those P2A customers who may be here as well, and for anybody that's uses a different advocacy platform. This is really where you get to see the bread and butter of why of Quorum's data efficiencies. So if I look at this co-sponsors section here, so this is a power search that I've done, and what I'm filtering by is I could say, well, I want to know who are the legislators that have sponsored or co-sponsored this particular bill. So in this case, I'm saying these are the sponsors or co-sponsors to this particular bill, and I can create a target, an email to those sponsors or co-sponsors. And I can look that up, and I've got all that data at my fingertips. So if you could imagine, you could do this for Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Democrats who sponsored, Republicans who sponsored. So let your imagination run wild around how you could segment out who you're targeting with your messages. So we've expanded this capability from not just being able to send 2 or 3 messages. You can create up to 6 different message groups here, all that exist within one single campaign. So I could say, sponsors, those who sponsored, those who were on a particular committee. I could say House Republicans, House Democrats, Senate Republicans, and Senate Democrats, and create 6 different messages around one particular issue to all of those really specific groups in one campaign. So really kind of honing in on what you're saying and who you're saying it to. So it allows for a lot of that configuration, that power under the hood here. The other thing is, who wants to write the same message 6 times? I can go ahead and I can duplicate any of these messages. I can clear out the content. I can delete this off. So it makes it quite a bit easier to manage those 6 messages and what you're going to do with them. So that's sort of the expanding the power, the capability here, right? So I can send 6 messages to 6 different target groups here. But on top of that, we are also adding in the ability to create up to 50 variations of a single message. So I can take this message and I can go ahead and create up to 50 versions of this particular message. So if you wanted to take the time and write 50 versions of this message, what will happen is your advocates will get carouseled 50 versions of this message for this one particular message. So you could do that 6 times. So that would be 300 different messages that you could carousel to your advocates. If you wanted to take the time to write out 300 versions of variations or 50 variations of one particular message times 6. Now, nobody wants to do that. So that's where things like AI really come into play here. So what we're doing is we've offered the ability to use AI to take your original message. This is your content, not ours. We're not writing this for you. And the AI is basically saying, give me 50 versions of this particular message. So I could go ahead and generate and click generate, and the AI will run through and write 50 versions of this message that I've created. It will vary both the subject as well as the body. Then, as an organization, I don't trust the AI to do my writing for me, or to know that it's taken my words and ordered them in the right way. So you could very simply look at each one of these and say, you know what, important voting reminder. Maybe you know what, I want to add in something like I want to put a first name in this, or I want to put the legislator's first name in the subject, or something like that, or just want to change the words. So as you can see, I am instead of saying you, I could say, you know what, I want that to read as, you know, the legislator's first name, or legislator target's full name, or something like that. So I could say this is appropriate greeting. There we go, perfect. So I can add in that target appropriate greeting, and then I could say you are a sponsor of this. And what it's going to do is it's going to tell me that I edited this and I reviewed it, and it's been enhanced by AI. So I know what the AI has written, and I can change it. I can regenerate this if I want to, and run it through the AI again. So you don't have to do. You can monitor all this and make sure all of it's right. You can delete any of these versions off that you don't like, and then the advocate will have the experience of sort of seeing up to 300 different versions of one particular message. So that is the changes that we made here to the campaign creation process, or the write a letter campaign process. Jumping back into the presentation, so this was Brian Rubenstein. I'm not sure if you were, he ran a webinar about grassroots a couple of weeks ago for us, and really kind of did like open Q&A with grassroots teams. It was really fantastic. Great listen. Molly, I don't know if you have that link anywhere, but you might want to share that, the recording of it. It's really a great thing to sit and listen to, and kind of hear his feedback around. He worked at American Cancer Society on their grassroots and grass top stuff for a long while, 9 or 10 years or something. Runs his own impact group now. But he said specifically about the AI stuff, I know there's a lot of apprehension around sort of generative AI and using it, but his suggestion was to use the tools. Anything you do to set yourself apart is helpful. And this allows you to kind of diversify your messaging, but tie into your core message without straying too far off, right? And kind of opens up more of that diversification of messages to kind of get through some of those catch filters that may exist out there in the advocacy world nowadays. So we highly suggest using them. So I'd love to hear what do you think about these AI variations? Do you see yourself using it? Do you use AI today for any of your work? How do you use it in the future? Go ahead and take a minute, drop a comment there. I'm really interested in if you would use this or if you would not. I don't know, Mal, if we can get a poll up in there or not. It might be a little too late to create that. But I'd love to hear your feedback around, are these AI tools something that you're looking forward to? We have seen quite a bit of adoption of them on our side. So I'm really excited to hear your opinion. And of course, the last thing that we want to talk about is updating the updated advocate experience. So what does this mean for your advocates? How do we take these 6 messages and create an experience that is easy for them to use? What does that campaign look like? So I'm going to actually head back into my action center. I'm going to go to my take action area. And again, the action center is your centralized hub for all that you do. And let's see if I can grab my Save the Whales campaign. Oh, I clicked on one. Okay, here's another example for not the Save the Whales, but this is the Write Your Legislators to Make Government Data More Accessible. So what you're going to see here is I have the ability now, those 6 messages are now, I can select and view each one of these messages as an advocate. We've updated this experience here, and this is going to look ugly for a second, but I'm going to show you how you can, a little tools of the product trade where you can look at the mobile version of a web page. If you use your inspect option in your developer tools within Chrome, you can actually go ahead and load a page using a mobile version. So this is looking at it on iPhone 14. So we've kind of made this more easy to use on mobile by adding in this see more and see less. This way you kind of hide the description and move the form to the top of the page, no longer a super long scroll. So we've added some efficiencies here around mobile conversions and built it for mobile first. All of these elements here work great on a phone, so I can select and deselect any one of these. You can see for this particular campaign, these are the 5 groups that I qualify for, that I have targets for. So if there's, for example, I don't qualify, I live in South Carolina, but one of these is targeting, North Carolina state legislators. I would not see that target group because I don't qualify. And again, we're simplifying that experience to increase conversions for advocates. I can manage, if I want to, who I'm sending these messages to. Again, this is a toggle that you could disable or turn it on and decide what I'm saying to them. I have the ability to edit this content if I want, and then I can submit all of these at once. So we modernized what this page looks like. I'm not sure if you've seen kind of previous versions of Quorum campaigns, but this uses sort of the primary color you're sending for your action center. We are automatically defaulting sort of a contrast in the text to make sure that we meet some of those web standards for accessibility and kind of really modernizing the experience a bit here. Then once I submit, you'll see that I have earned my 55 points. So I've got this thank you page that's been designed. I can share these across the board. I can see that I've earned the points as an advocate. I love that. And then even if I wanted to come in and actually see, who's on the leaderboard, where do I fall in here? And I can see how many actions I've taken, and I'll be able to get to load and kind of use the Sheets capability to see kind of who are the top advocates in here and kind of moving through the levels and get to see all that data presented in general. And you could hide this if you wanted to. So if I don't want to know the names of people, you can hide that too. So lots of options around the data that you're presenting here and the sort of the different areas of engagement that exist within the Action Center itself. So that's sort of the last piece of this next generation rollout. I do want to kind of end before we jump into the Q&A, and I will go through those questions. So go ahead and give thumbs up to questions that you want answered. And after the next couple of minutes, I'll jump in there and make sure that I answer those first. So if there's a question in there that you haven't asked or something that you really want to hear about, go ahead and click that thumbs up, and I'll sort by the thumbs up and answer those questions. But I do also want to tell you about what's coming next. As I kind of plug what's coming next and what we're building out right now, I'm also going to plug both my email address and my LinkedIn. Find me there. Send me an email if you're interested in talking to us about any of these features, how you would use them, or how you would love to see them enhanced. Because that's how we build good product. It's not by us coming up with the ideas, it's by us listening to you, hearing your pain points, how you use things today, and then figuring out how do we build a better experience for you and your advocates. So I highly, highly, highly request and love to interact with you, not just by me talking to a webinar, but by you sending me an email, us having a conversation, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever works for you. I know your day is super busy, so I'll be respectful of that as well. So any of these upcoming features that we're going to talk about here are things we're currently in discovery on and would love to hear from you on. The first thing that we're doing, and this is coming soon, sooner than later, actually within the next couple of weeks, is we're increasing the relevance of local targeting in municipalities and cities within Quorum Grassroots. Right now, P2A is much better at this. So if you target locally in, let's say, New York City, in P2A, you will return 2 results. In Quorum Grassroots, you could get up to 30 results because the targeting is on a much larger scale, and it's not, the relevance isn't there. So we are adding in that additional layer to really improve local targeting within Quorum Grassroots, and that'll be coming to you within the next couple of weeks. Second thing we're doing is we're creating something called multi-action campaigns that include calling and posting to a lawmaker. For those P2A customers, they'll be like, oh, we already do that. I know. Yeah, you do that. Quorum doesn't do that today. So we're creating a new version of this campaign where you can string together 3 different campaign types that could be a combination of write a letter, write the White House, calling, lots of different petitions, commenting on regulations. You can tie them all into one single campaign experience, and we are working on that today. That will be coming probably within the next month. I anticipate Q1 for that. Third thing we're working on is we're going to improve message management. So that this is really doing 2 things. One, when you can set a campaign to have you approve all the messages before they go to legislators, there's a couple of really neat reasons why you would want to do that. One is, let's say you're targeting sort of hyper-local or maybe statewide, and you want to put pressure points on specific legislators at certain times. You can use the power of Quorum to filter down who you want to message, who you want to send those to and when. The problem is today it doesn't really allow you to easily see that, and you can't do it in bulk as easily as you should. So really kind of improving that process to really kind of allow you to message storm a little bit and control that. We're also going to allow you to see which messages have been edited by your advocates, which is probably the most important thing that you can know from a Write a Legislator campaign. Those people that took the time to not just click the send button or click the submit button, but took the time to tell their story and update your content are probably the most important people that you want to work with. You want to give them extra points. You want to spend time with them. If their story is good, you want to know. So we're going to give you the tools to be able to know that. So that is also something that we will be working on in Q2. And then further on in Q2, we're also looking at building in image video campaigns, video campaign walls, things like that. We're going to expand our text messaging functionality to include, you can string together multiple text messages today, but you can't do images in Quorum. There's lots of kind of differences and things that we want to enhance around text messaging, because text messaging is like the #1 way to market to advocates to get them to act. So we want to really enhance those tools, and are actively looking for participants to have those conversations with us. And then the last thing is we're looking at increasing our patch through calling capabilities. Every single legislator will tell you the most important thing that your advocates can do is call them. So we want to focus on making that better, easier, more intuitive, and more impactful, and then open up the window so that you know how those calls went, because it's kind of a black box, right? They call the legislator, you got your talking points, you don't know what happens after that. We want to make that kind of seamless for you and kind of give you those insights that you need to really understand sort of what the impact of those calls are. So those are kind of the major initiatives that we have over the first half of this year, and I'm really excited to talk to you about any of those. So I will go to I'll show the thank you slide, and then I will go over to Q&A. So thank you so much for your time. If you don't want to stick around for Q&A, then feel free to drop, and we'll send you the recording. Thank you again so much for taking time out of your day to hear about all these great things that we are working on. Okay, so let's pull up. Okay, so I am going to select let's see, prioritized. Nope. All most upvotes. Okay, here we go. I did it. Okay, great. P2A customer here. What does this transition look like? Will all P2A customers be moved to this product, or is it something we opt into? So the answer is yes and yes. So eventually, all P2A customers will move into the Quorum Grassroots product, or the next generation of Grassroots product. This is something you can opt into. So we are working on really specific groupings of product of organizations based upon how they use P2A today and when they might be ideal for that upgrade process. You can volunteer and do it now if you want to kind of put yourself on the list, or we're really looking to keep P2A around until the end of 2025. So you'll have the next 2 years to really kind of work on the upgrade plans and that process. So we're not forcing anybody at this time to upgrade. You have sort of leeway to plan that on your own and work with us around that process. Hopefully that answers that question sufficiently. I would also go ahead and talk to your CSM, whoever they might be, to make sure that you are kind of planning that upgrade, and you can send them an email, and they will help you out around planning that process. So really happy to have those conversations. I've had a bunch of them already over the last month, and I'm happy to have more. Will there be an option like P2A where we can draft a version of an email and the submitter can edit it before sending? Yes, actually they can edit today. That is completely true. With the gamification, can you set up messages to be sent to advocates when they pass certain thresholds? I think I answered that one before. Yes, so the messages will appear on the Action Center as they complete it. For emails, you can automate that with using auto-updating lists and then sending out an email once a week to that list. Will Grassroots offer templates like P2A? It saves a lot of time. Templates as far as web pages. So we have templates on the kind of layout step for your campaign creation are templates. You can adjust if you want to, or you can just go with the base, and that's what most people do. We do have also templates for all of the pages. So when I showed you the Action Center, each Action Center has their own page. I'm going to stop sharing here. So each Action Center has their own page, and that's sort of what you, there's templates and layouts for all of those things. Let's see, can you change these to active? I think we talked about that one already. Are there any updates for local government? I know Quorum is more for state, and yeah, I actually went over that. So that is coming soon. That was actually a perfect setup. In the next couple of weeks, we are working on releasing those updates for local. Will there be preview for mobile? Yes, great question. So everything that we do is very iterative, right? So this is sort of the first major release of the next generation of Grassroots tools. We are going to further that work and continue to improve that with the next generation of stuff. So yeah, I look really grainy here, so maybe I should share it again. It's weird. But yeah, thanks, Philcast. Yes, we will. One of the things that we're looking at is the ability to preview on mobile. So you'll be able to see that automatically. What does this multi-message environment look like from the user end? Do they get to review all 6, or how many messages? Oh, hopefully I showed that. So for the multi-messages, you got that little toggle at the top where they can click through and view all of them, or just submit all in one button. Are the advocacy actions inclusive or fee-based by feature, per feature? So Quorum, actually, P2A really worked that way, where you banded sort of different sets of features based upon package that you would get. That doesn't work the same way in Quorum. You get all of the features within Quorum, The pricing and the banding is really based on kind of 3 levers. First one being the size of your database, so number of contacts. Second is going to be the number of credits that you use for email and the number of credits you use for text messaging. Those are sort of the 3 things that sort of differentiate the 3 packages for Quorum Grassroots. Of course, you could talk about adding in ledge tracking and all those things. So that is how that works. Well, the campaign fields, particular email address, are built in. We talked about the validation. I'm going to check on that one as a takeaway. You only have one message option on the right letter. It doesn't show you a preview of what legislators are seeing, like it did. Okay, as a user, I want to see the legislator the message is going to ensure the campaign is set up correctly. Totally understand. So on the new kind of, with some of the new features that we rolled out, we changed the way that the merge fields, the placeholder fields work, because you could, as you saw from, like, I was targeting South Carolina, I'm going to see, 2 senators and I saw my state rep for my address. And because the placeholders, we don't want it to say, dear Lindsay, Tim, Nancy. We kind of just show the placeholder there in the interim. As I understand the situation where you're talking about, where if you only have, if the target is just one person, then it would make sense to really just drop that in there, and we can look about making that change. It's not something that we have planned right now, but it's something that we've heard. And I'll take one more and then wish everybody a good day. In the advocacy activity, can you segment off leaderboards by affiliates or geographic area, for example? Absolutely, yes, you can. AI tools tied to, actually, I can get a couple in. AI tools tied to a combo type campaign in P2A would be pretty far out. Is this something we could expect? Yes, that is something that we're going to be working on Q3 to really kind of improve upon that conversational AI experience, right? To build out unique messages with an interactive sort of interactive experience with your advocates to really get their story out of them, instead of just being like, click a button to submit a message. Convo campaign is the idea of, it's a conversational form rather than just clicking submit. The other thing we're looking to do that with eventually would be text messaging as well. So sort of a convo text message interaction around creating a message and then sending it off to legislators. That's something else we're exploring. All right, with 30 seconds left, the webinar is coming to a conclusion. If I didn't get your, if I didn't answer your question, feel free to reach out to me, daffortit, daffortit @quorum.us, and have a great day. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.